Welcome to It's Your Space. I'm Mary Cox, Seattle-based, New York-bred interior designer who firmly believes that subconsciously, design choices psychologically and physically influence how you feel in a space. This podcast will introduce you to the science behind how your environment impacts your well-being. I'm often asked what my process is for designing a space. It's easy. I listen. Because the truth is, you actually know what you want, and I know how to get you there. Have you ever been asked to describe a space you were in many years ago? Not just remember it, but actually see it. I could always recall how the room made me feel and notice the nuances of color and lighting, fabrics, the scale of the room. I didn't really have a word for it, but I could picture things in vivid detail. I could repeat a friend's parents' phone number from when I grew up in New York. It's crazy. People were amazed because knowing me, I have a problem remembering what day it is. So I can also get around anywhere by visual cues. But if the buildings change or the trees are cut down, I have to reprogram my internal map to get where I'm going. My son finds it hysterical that I cannot tell you east from west. And he's always trying to get me to understand Portland and its logistics. The river is on the east, Mom. Huh? I have always been directionally challenged, as we like to call it, and I thank God every day for GPS. But despite this handicap, I can not only remember numbers, all my credit card numbers, but visually replay moments, layouts of rooms, even random little details, like exactly where something was sitting on a shelf. I always thought that this was normal. Then I got talking to our guest, Glynis Matula, about this. She has what's called an eidetic memory. Basically, the ability to recall images with insane clarity, almost like her brain took a screenshot, but it's different from photographic memory. And when we started talking about it, I realized, wait, I have that too. So I did a deeper dive on it and came up with this. Some studies suggest that eidetic memory is linked to synesthesia, where emotional, sensory, or spatial information is processed simultaneously. For example, remembering a place with an emotional feeling. There's a quote from Maya Angelou I have always loved. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. I wondered if the eidetic memory was tied to how the spaces made us feel. Glynis described being able to remember a space so clearly, and it made me think, when we remember a room like that, are we remembering what it looked like or how it felt to be in it? I believe that design isn't visual, it's experiential. Glynis and I have worked together as a team for many years on an array of residential projects. She calls me the bender due to my terrible habit of bending fan decks when I find a paint color that I like. So, the bender is thrilled to introduce my very dear friend and talented designer, Glynis Matula, sales director and senior designer for the Closet Factory. Welcome, Baby G.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me, Mary. Mary says Baby G because my first name is so hard to get. Glynis is always so hard to get. So I came up with a nickname, Baby G, and that's what I use at Starbucks. Don't tell anybody.
When they're calling for your coffee, right? Baby G.
Exactly.
Well, Glynis, research shows environments can cue memory, like how a certain layout can trigger emotions. Do you ever design with those psychological memory cues in mind?
I really think environments can cue memory. And what I like to see is when, for instance, in a primary closet, I want the images in the doorway, I want them to trigger joy for my clients.
Cool.
I want to do that. And this can be accompanied by just utilizing a bank of drawers with like a vanity space above. And that could have like a mirrored backsplash, a candle, or a picture frame. Sometimes I joke with the husbands, oh, you can put a picture of you and your wife there to look at. And if a client loves shoes, maybe we'll go with that kind of a cue. And it really triggers a lot of good joy for them. And maybe shoes and handbags, that sort of thing. And they could be displayed center stage. Right when you walk into the doorway, you want that to be the jewelry of the room, so to speak. And I call it a joy jolt when they walk up and see that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, Glynis, when I asked you how you design spaces for the Closet Factory, the very first thing you said was by listening. So if you want to expand a little bit more on that, I'd love to hear.
I think these days people are not meeting so much in person anymore. I see a lot of that. People are texting online and doing the whole internet phone kind of thing.
Right.
And us being in a client's really personal space when we're designing, especially for the closets, because it's what they do every day is they go in there and it's their very personal items. Their unmentionables are in there. And my role as a designer is to uncover how the space is affecting my client's daily life. So I ask them really key questions about that, and I allow the client to answer them. My job is not to suck the air out of the room, in other words, but to find out what's the why behind the client contacting me.
Yeah.
And you have like different people coming into your homes to do various trades, right? And they're always wanting to sell you something. And that's not what we want to have happen. We want to be able to sit there and listen to what a client says and be silent when they are talking. One of my sales team members, he recently told me that if you go in there and you have a certain lack in your life as a tradesperson and you walk into their house, the clients can smell your commission breath.
Is that what he said?
Yes. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God,
yes.
that is such a cool
and people
line.
people can feel that energy.
Of course they can.
And most likely smell it if it's the commission breath.
If it's commission breath. That is such a great line. I'm going to remember that. So, you told me that you can read energy and you found a name for it.
Yes, I actually did. It was crazy because we were talking the other day about how, like, with a client, feeling their energy and also, in like a crowded space, feeling people's energy in those particular situations and kind of reading it and knowing, what the client is feeling. And I went ahead and looked it up, and it's something called clairsentience.
Clairsentience?
Clairsentience, not
good.
sentence, but
Not
sentience.
Got it.
And it means a clear feeling. So it's the ability to perceive energy, emotions, and information through physical sensations and deep gut feelings. Common symptoms include you can feel others' pain, sort of, their really intense empathy, overwhelming sensitivity in crowds, sensing the vibe of places, physical sensations like tingling or chills. any kind of an intuitive gut feeling. That's what it means. And I thought of you because we both kind of have that, especially when we're going in to see a client. We'll be able to, like, in a client's space, if they're, what I oftentimes feel is like the fear. I'll feel fear coming off of the client. And it's
Yes.
either, and most likely comes up in, it can either be fawning, which means people pleasing, they're real people pleasing to me, or it could be, kind of being combative and fighting. And sometimes it comes out as freezing, completely freezing, or they want to flee, like, oh, I have to go take a call, that kind of thing.
I've actually had that happen.
So, yeah,
Where you're
exactly.
like, oh, okay. Right. No, I know what you
Isn't
mean.
that funny? So reading somebody's energy and being able to know, a lot of times there is a bit of fear there, and being able to get them so they feel really comfortable and safe. And that's where that active listening, and you called it creative listening, creatively listening to what they're saying and also what they're not saying.
Meaning
can
their
really,
body. could
their
be
body
saying-
language, looking at everyone's body language and picking up on cues like, oh, that seems like this didn't land with you, this closet design. Talk to me. Tell me all the things. That's usually what I do. And I try to, feed in a little bit of humor here and there, be able to offset that a lot of times.
Well, I think it's really fun about the reading the energy, but that you have a name for it now.
Now I have a name for it. Clairsentience.
Clairsentience. We're the bender, we're baby G.
And we're clairsentient. How good is that?
I know. So now you also use the term holding space and being present when you're with your clients. So like you said, letting them talk about themselves and allow them to, you had said this, drop into their pain. What does that mean?
So I am a certified life coach as well. And during our training, we had to be able to speak to a client when we're coaching them and be able to hold space, which means allowing for a safe and non-judgmental environment where a client can express herself without being interrupted. So I first drop into, when I'm meeting with a client, coming from a place of compassion and from curiosity. Those are the two best ways to meet up with somebody, because when you're curious, it leads to some good questions. And when you're compassionate, a lot of times you're going into somebody's closet and they're embarrassed and they're ashamed of what's going on in there. It could be super messy, and they don't want to present to you like their life is a shambles, but that's kind of how they feel. So I allow the client to speak about their concerns and what their needs are. And what I do is I reiterate the concerns and ask how, whatever those issues are, how does this make you feel in the space? And then when they reply back to me, I mirror the feeling back. I say, say for instance, they say, I am so frustrated with this space. Then I would say back to her, oh my goodness, I can see how frustrating that would be. And you want to choose and always flow with empathy if you can with the client. And the solutions come second to that.
I love that the most important component of your direction is around empathy, because it really is.
It always is.
It always is. I mean, everything we do in life, if we're walking through with empathy, will be more present and more conscious of whoever we're in that space at that moment, wherever we are, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, how do you train your sales team to do this? Because we know who you are, and we know
Right.
we know how extraordinary you are. So, how do you actually train them?
Well, it was really funny. When I did this past training a few weeks ago, I was training on this, and I had a rotator cuff injury, and I had to go to see the doctor, right? And I said to them, I said, well, when I walked in to see the doctor, they didn't say, Oh, hi, where's the pain? Oh, it's right there. Okay, well, I'm going to schedule surgery for you right now. That's what could have happened if they
Right.
go right to the solution and you don't ask any questions, right?
Right.
With a
Right.
doctor, my doctor said, oh, well, where's the pain? What's the pain level? What have you done to take care of
Wow.
that pain? All of
Right.
these
Right.
questions leading up to it. Let's
Yeah.
see if we can figure out what it is. What happens when you do this? That sort of thing. So, what happens is you're going into the doctor and you're showing them whatever the wound is or the problem is. And I think of a closet as the same way. They're walking into a space with a client. We want to know what that wound is and show the client the fastest way to heal the wound. Right? So the way we do that is by asking a lot of questions and dropping into the listening piece. So many consultants have the gift of gab, and that's why they're consultants, and that's why they're designers, because they know how to connect with people. But sometimes they don't know how to turn that off. And that's the best way, finding your way to what the client's needs are and, directing them to the best possible solution for their space.
That's amazing because, we've talked about on this podcast a lot what I like to term creative listening. So if I'm really listening, then I'm tuning into what their anxiety is about and all the things that you mentioned that people then will change, but their body language won't. But they will change when they are embarrassed or they say, oh, this place is a mess. Excuse me for this or that. And you're not there with judgment. You're there with how can I help you by listening to you solve a
Yeah.
problem. So, and you had said that you have to build a trust bridge. Explain to me your trust bridge, because I understand as a designer, the same, you're in somebody else's home and you have to respect that.
Yeah, and you've met this client for the first time.
Yeah.
You're going out there, and this is somebody you don't even know, and they don't know you.
Yeah.
And so there's a gap, right?
Yeah.
It's like this big gap between the two of you. And I call it a trust gap. And so every single commonality or mutual understanding, that is a trust rope that goes across that gap, if you will. So eventually what I do is I build several ropes that create a trust bridge with the client, and then I can walk over it.
Yeah.
An example of this is I worked with this senior client a few months ago, and she'd lived all over the world. And she was downsizing and going from the 4,000 square foot house to, 1,500 square feet. And I talked to her about what I'd used with my own parents because I helped them downsize from 4,000 to 2,000 and then from 2,000 into an assisted living place. And I also talked about, because she said she had been all over the world, and I said, well, I have a son that lives in Thailand, and I had to move him to go over there. And she said, you've got to be kidding me. I grew up in Bangkok, and she talked to me about that. So that
No
was another
way.
rope, right?
Right.
And then I mentioned that in different spaces in the house, like she had this water heater that was behind a closet door.
Right.
And she said, can I store it here? And there was space. But I said, the guy is going to have to come in here if they need to replace a water heater, and you can't build there. It's like code. I go, but this is what you can do. So it was about kind of saving money for the client too and being in their best interest. And so I also offered her, which I've done this for many clients, going to her existing home, looking at all the contents and the inventory there, and being able to effectively move those into the new space and saying to her, oh, I think if we did this instead of doing this over here in the entry closet, I said, instead of that long hanging, we create a double hanging, which is short hanging above another short
Another
hanging.
one. Right.
Right?
Right.
And so that in and of itself created more storage for her. So this builds like a really strong trust bridge. And that's how she became my client.
It's interesting because I feel the same way that if I usually call it a commonality,
True.
whatever, that when you connect with someone, right away. And if you're really present and listening to them, I want to know how they feel. That's all I care about. I care
Mm-hmm.
about how do you feel. And I remember you and I had done a job where the client, I brought you in and it was in their bedroom and to do a inset TV into a space that was a closet and then build another closet and then also her office. And
Correct.
there was a lot of spaces. And the interesting part is the two of us work together great as a team because we creatively bounce off of each other. But one of the things was you were so in tune to her wanting to not give up her memories that were in that closet. You know, her wedding dress, her daughter's, or first dress, or there was really old things in there. And I watched you in how you walked her through allowing her to let go and also creating a new space that took care of all the needs in her bedroom from her husband liking. She likes to read at night. He doesn't with the light. Then we came up with a barn door, that
Oh,
we
yeah.
could close. But you were so in tune to what would make it work for her.
Yes, I think anytime we can tap into that and find whatever it is the client has that is most important to them,
Yeah.
that we honor that
Yeah.
somehow
Mm-hmm.
within dealing with them and the actual space, and maybe even finding an even better place to put these things to honor
Right.
them better, right?
Right. Right.
I think is good. And what was nice about that job was it was so much fun with the client. She was just really a little bit serious when we started, and she had so much fun
She
doing
had
it.
so much
It
fun.
didn't seem legal to have that much fun.
I know that the Closet Factory isn't just about organizing clothes. You work on home offices, which you've done for me many times, garage systems, entertainment centers, and pantries too. You
Mhm.
guys do everything. So, how does your design direction change when you're creating a space that's a workspace versus a rest space?
Yeah, especially like with home offices, it seems like, oh, just build the desk in. It's no big
Yeah.
deal. But when you're looking at a desk space or a workspace for somebody, you have to find out what are your habits? Are you right-handed? Do you want to file over on
Great
the right
question.
side or the
Yeah.
left side? Are you really short and you
Yeah.
hate that the countertop is too high on your desk, or
Great
vice versa,
questions. Yeah.
right? Do you want more knee space? Do you want more? I like to have a lot of, on the top, a lot of workspace, like open space on the top so I can spread things out.
Mhm.
And some people say, no, 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 I don't want that. Okay. But doing these things and thinking about lighting is so important too. Thinking about
Right.
where are you going to work? And also with the need for people who do Zoom meetings and that sort of thing, always being cognizant of what's behind you
Oh,
in the space
yes.
too. Like if you're going to be on your laptop, is behind you, do you want that to be the focal point of the
Mhm.
room? Maybe we don't want to build on that wall. Maybe we want to do wallpaper on that wall.
Mhm.
Maybe we want a beautiful painting on that wall. So keeping, that in mind when we're looking at client things. And then for a restful palette, it is intuitive to me, but for some people, they don't really realize if you have things that are not behind doors and
Mhm.
they're out in the open, that can seem jarring to you in a space.
Mhm.
And also having a neutral palette, that's always really important too. Having a calm, restful kind of a palette and coming up with that for the client. So it's not, you don't want a space that's bright red or something like
Stimulating
that and
them or
stimulating when you want
yeah.
to be restful.
Whereas in the workspace, you might want the stimulation. And I love what you brought in about the Zoom calls because they're not my favorite thing to do at all. But I get so stressed out by them. But I always have a test ahead of time on my Zoom, and I test to make sure the artwork is good.
Exactly.
This is what I want to show because this is who I am. They can't see the piles of paperwork on the floor that I have.
Good call.
Yeah, good call. Everything to me. I'm a bender and I'm a piler. Everything's in piles. I have to have order, but it's in piles.
But you know where everything is
I know
within
where
those
everything
piles.
is.
You know
Yeah.
which pile that
Yeah.
thing is.
Yeah, even in my closet, I'm like that. Everything has to be perfect, meaning in my office. And I can find the weirdest thing. It's in back of this, 2 things over, crazy. Today's episode of It's Your Space is sponsored by The Closet Factory.
Why struggle with a messy space when you can have peace of mind? Start your day with a deep breath and a custom-designed space from Closet Factory. From pantries, garages, and closets to home offices and more, we design around your life. Schedule your free in-home design consultation today. Beautifully organized. ClosetFactory.com.
I wanted to ask you this too, that studies have been done showing that organized spaces reduce cognitive load. In your experience as a designer, what's the science behind that? Do organized spaces really decrease the visual noise that causes like brain fog?
Oh, yes. So organized spaces, they can significantly decrease the visual noise. And that has been scientifically shown to reduce brain fog, stress, and also mental fatigue. Neuroscientists have found that clutter competes for your attention. And it
It does.
taxes cognitive resources and it causes our brain to feel overwhelmed. So what happens is that leads to reduced productivity and it impairs your focus as well. So leaving out, for instance, unfinished items, they don't have to be in piles, but unfinished items that your brain will be looking at. For instance, like if a client went into her closet and she doesn't have a good solution for laundry and it's just there on the floor. Anytime she goes and takes a look at it, it's like, you have to do the laundry. You have to do the laundry.
Right.
And the laundry is like eating at you. So what that person is doing all day long is they're carrying around this low-level anxiety. Even if you're trying your best to ignore it, you go, oh, that can be done later. Your brain doesn't think that. They're thinking, laundry, laundry.
Glynis, that is so true. I mean, unfortunately, I have that where even if I put everything in piles, if it's in order, I'm better. But if I walk by and say, I'm going to put that laundry, it's going to be out of the way. My brain is still saying, laundry, you should put it down in the washing machine. Laundry, you should put it. It's
Yes.
still on. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And what's funny is, I don't know if you love this trend or not, but I've seen with some interior designers where, and you and I both love books. I know that for a fact. I like to see all the spines of the books, but for some people who have, maybe an overload kind of situation going on, if they see all those books, a lot of interior designers have turned to flipping them and where you just see the pages.
I can't stand that.
Right?
I think, let's talk about that for a second.
Sure.
I think it's so trendy. Like, we don't know what else to do, but we'll turn the books around. I have gone into hotels and they said, well, a designer came in and in this little space they had for sitting, and they turned the books around. I said, how do you feel about it? They said, we hate it. So I said, watch this. And I walked over to the bookshelf and I said, click, click, turn them all around. I lined them up. I put some up, some vertical, some horizontal, and then just said, what do you think now? And she said, feels way better. I said, well, good. If she gets mad, she can call me. Right? But I'm a guest right now. So.
Yeah. So
But
guests
what's your
rule.
feeling? What's your feeling on that?
Well, I think for some people there can be Marie Kondo says in her book, Sparking Joy and all that those titles can sometimes shout at people, like they're shouting at you. On the spines of the book are shouting at you, right? And that can have, for some people, cognitive overload. So that's a way to store it for those kinds of brains that require that kind of thing. But for the most part, I don't know how anybody could go in there and say, "Oh, can you find me that book?" No, let me turn over like 300 books here to find that for you.
It's so crazy. It's like, or don't put books up. Like, just don't
Right.
have a bookshelf. Or the other
Put it
thing
behind
is,
closed doors.
like, I am cognitive of bright colors that are in book bindings. In other words, there's a rhyme and reason in our home of where the books are.
Do you rainbow them?
I don't rainbow them, but if I see something and it's going to tie into what I have going on, I'm going to keep that binder, the outside of it. But if I think it's like bright purple, I don't have purple. See, so I might go, that book's not going up. It's going down in the other section. Does that make sense?
It does.
Because it'll bug me when I see it.
Color
So,
has a colorway is huge for design
huge.
and for
I
how
know.
people feel.
And how they feel. But, most people think that a closet is just storage. Yet your work makes it feel like a livable space. What design principles like ergonomics, lighting, color psychology do you lean on to shift a room from functional to emotionally satisfying?
Well, I'd say ergonomically speaking, a few years ago, I designed a custom closet for an NBA player. He was 6'10" tall. I'm sure he still is. Not was, but probably still is.
Still is.
He needed his hanging clothes at a higher level and his drawer banks at a higher level. And his clothing was like dragging because, the spaces weren't tall enough. And so it wasn't working for him. So once I did that, he could go in and he could really find his clothes easily, and it just worked better for him. He wasn't having to stoop down for things that he needed right away, that kind of thing. And it worked really nice. And then I think adding lighting to a design, it can really help with finding things a lot easier. In a workplace, of course, if you're doing, an office, it's really wonderful there. And sometimes for people, like I had a client who, she was going to have macular degeneration coming on board.
Okay.
She just knew it. And she was diagnosed. So she said, I am going to get lighting put into the closet right away. And that's what we did for her. Put in the lighting so that now it looks really good, but then several years down the road when she couldn't see as well, it would really help out. And it can also help with mood lighting and that kind of thing. In a closet or in like a wine bar, it's really fun to have that. If you're doing like a little happy hour sitch with your friends and having that mood lighting there, it's really nice. And then as far as color goes, I like to make sure, especially with closet design, and you remember this from that Woodinville job that we did with that light sagey greenish kind of a color that we chose, we made that flow throughout the house and through, it was like a color story.
Exactly.
So that it would flow to the adjacent spaces
Right.
and being really aware of how your adjacent bathrooms, kitchens, or the living areas can affect how you flow through the space, and making sure that there's some continuity there, I think, is important.
That's interesting because I say a lot to clients, I say it's like a fabric. So if you took a fabric and looked at all the intricacies in it, so it might have 8 different colors in there or 5, but they all meld together to look like this one piece. And if you have very subtle, nothing's loud, a subtle thread that's running through your home of a continuity, then your house will flow. It's not like you just go, what the heck just happened?
Exactly right.
And I'm always talking about having visual noise, I call it. And it's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
So if there's too much visual noise, I can't focus. And most people can't because I watch them. they can't focus. And like you said, the thing that's screaming at you right in the beginning, is the clutter.
Right.
Or it's going, hello, I want your attention, So it's fascinating what you do. But something now as simple as not being able to see what you own, don't you think it can slow people down every morning? And do you think that the visibility and layout actually reduces decision fatigue every morning?
Absolutely. A disorganized dark closet, what it does is it forces your brain to process hundreds of data points, and it drains your willpower before your day even begins.
Wow.
That's what it does. I
agree.
I've met with a lot of husbands, and this is really funny. And if they have gone through and had to go to a few different closets, I had done a closet for a guy who was going to 4 different closets on different levels of the home. Basement, second floor, first floor. He was all over the place collecting his stuff to be able to get dressed for that day.
Just for that day.
Just giving him access to one closet space.
But why did he have 4? I'm just curious.
It's because his wife took over the entire closet. So what I did was I created space for him in their primary closet. And
You did?
Yeah, I did.
What did you do with everything that she had taken, if she took it over?
Well, what we did was the best way to do a closet like that is to make sure that whatever you're going to on a daily basis, like your regular work week and that sort of thing, we go to there. But she had all of her like long dresses and long gowns took up a huge section in there. And she doesn't wear them every day. She might wear them a couple times a year or something like that. I said, let's move those to the secondary spaces and let's move him back in again. It not only saved their marriage, but it was life-changing for him. So he called me and he said, I should have had this done. And this is what most of them say, 10 years ago, because he gained about 2 hours back a week.
Did he really?
2 hours back a week. He was going from room to room. It was like 20 minutes a day he was spending on doing that. Insane, right?
Okay, that's insane. That's insane, of 4 different closets.
Yep.
But do you know, I was talking to you before the podcast about, I had listened to a Mel Robbins podcast, and she had on a woman who's a stylist, right, to very famous people.
Correct.
And she was saying how people come to their closet in the morning, and especially Mel Robbins was saying this too, and they say, oh, I'd love to wear those jeans, but I'm too fat right now. Or, I love that jacket, but it makes me feel, oh, no, I won't wear that because I can't fit into it. Or because they're in a different stage of their life. Do you know what I mean? We're always in stages, no matter what it is, whether you're a teenage or 20-something or 30-something or it doesn't matter. You're in a stage. And so what we do is fight all the time with that closet. Okay, so you're looking in the closet and I go, well, I don't want to get rid of that because maybe someday I'll get my waist back, or I don't know, whatever your thought process is. So now you're stressed right before you even get in the closet.
Yes, you're so good with that because I tell clients, you have got to dress for, one season, one size is the best way to look at that. What I did before, and because I lost some weight and I had clothes that I had fit in before, I tell clients this and it really relieves the pressure. I say, get a container and on it, you're going to say clothes to grow into. Like you're a kid.
Oh, you're so
But you're an
cute.
adult and you can keep them somewhere, but don't put them right there. Clothes to grow into. Don't you love it?
No, I'm going to do clothes to grow into. I love this. Her thing was she came up with this 6 words. And I actually have tried it in the past couple of days. It was very successful. So I have to write her and tell her that. But it was, how do I want to feel today? Well, right there, That's going to take all those things that go, oh, it's a little tight in that jacket. And that shirt's great. I love that shirt. The sleeves are a little shorter or whatever. And if I ask myself, how do I want to feel? All of a sudden, that whole space of my closet doesn't become like this, Jaws, like dun, 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 dun. The minute I open it, I'm like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you do all the self-talk. And the minute I say, how do I want to feel? I can narrow it right down.
It's really fast that way, because if we approach it the other way and just say, oh, I need to throw on an outfit here, let's go. And then you're looking around. Here's a coat where the button's falling off. Great. I don't think that's going to work today. And then if you did decide to wear that and then it falls off and then you don't have a button and then you have to get rid of it anyway. I mean, who wants that, right? You know what those are, though, too?
What?
You want it's kind of like a planner. You want your closet to work for you. You're not working for your closet. Your closet is working for you. And you want to get rid of anything that's a micro annoyance. Because think about all those micro annoyances from just looking in there, right?
Yeah, and you're stressed out. You're absolutely right that you just look in there and now it's an annoyance. You're just trying to get on with your day. You were happy when you woke up and now you're not.
Now you're fiddling with the button that's going to come off, and you're monkeying around with your shoes that are a little too tight or something.
Exactly.
And then you're thinking, why didn't I wear those other shoes? And it's
all
all day long, micro annoyances.
And I have them all day long.
We all do, yes.
I know. It's so funny. I mean, I even get annoyed with, why didn't I bring those other glasses? Do you know what I mean? It's just a micro annoyance.
It is. And the way we can set ourselves up, too, for the next day, which I've always done. I know I'm probably one in a million that does this, but we sell this thing. It's my favorite closet accessory. It's called the valet rod. So it telescopes in and out of a shelf area in your closet. So I telescope that out, and every night I think, okay, what am I going to be doing tomorrow? What feeling do I want to drop into? And then I create that in an outfit and I put it up. And then the next day it's like, boom, I come out running the whole day. Easily.
Explain to me, I mean, what I do in my closet is that I have to have everything picked out the night before because I can't handle that you're talking about. So, I mean, I will hang the jacket, the shirt, the pants, socks, underwear, you name it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but what is your system? What did you say?
That's what I do the night before.
But what is the valet system?
The valet rod
is that?
It's a little, it looks like a little pole on a little stick that telescopes in and out of your,
cool.
and it sticks past the shelf. And then what you do is you can keep your things on a hanger where you hang it on there. It's like a rod that comes out vertically. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That is such a
it's an amazing contraption.
That's what I'm looking at thinking, okay, who thought that of? That's really smart.
Somebody smart and famous, I would imagine.
Who's very famous now. So, Glynis, whether it's a closet, an office, or any space we move through every day, it's never just about the layout. It's about how that space supports you, reflects you, and ultimately how it makes you feel. Because in the end, it's not just a space. It's your space. Hence the name of this podcast.
Yes.
So thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us today and sharing your years of hard-earned experience with our listeners. Thank you so much. I have loved every second of this.
It was my pleasure. And thank you for having me on your show today. And the Bender and Baby G will team up again, I'm sure.
I can't wait, Baby G. I love you.
Love you too, Mary.
I hope that this podcast will help empower you and teach you how to pursue your vision for your home by becoming aware of how design elements make you feel. We have many creative and inspiring guests joining us in future podcasts, sharing their knowledge and experiences with holistic design. And we're very excited about hearing from all of you and learning about your reactions to different design components. We welcome your comments and likes, and of course, would greatly appreciate you subscribing to our channel. Till next time, remember to start listening to yourself, because it's about you. It's your home. It's your space.